Yeah, thanks for having me back on. I appreciate the invite.
No problem, guys. We got Lance from Kane's Insight. Lance, go ahead and let the people know exactly what you do at Kane's Insight. I know you do a lot of unique stuff, especially with the testing of the newer players and things like that.
Yeah, so basically I'm in charge of the analytics that the site reports, as well as doing film review of the football games that Miami plays each year. And essentially I do a breakdown of both, right? I try and do a breakdown of what the film tells us, what's happening on the field. And then I also try and understand what the numbers are telling us behind some of the plays that we see on the field. Are there things that Miami's leaving behind, or are there additional opportunities out there based on what the numbers are telling us? I try to marry the two together to avoid being someone, that just looks at a spreadsheet and tries to come up with things that way, or also just, only going off of what the tape as well. So I try and marry the two to come up with a few different predictive models based on athleticism testing and things like that, and kind of put it all together and write stories and do that sort of thing with them.
Okay, and I definitely want to get into this 2020 class, and I definitely want your opinion on De'Aaron King and Rhett Lashley. But the news of today is that Jarren Williams has entered the transfer portal, and he will be looking to go to another school. This is a guy that was QB1, 6 touchdowns in one game. In your opinion, what do you think went wrong with Jarren Williams here at his time in Miami?
Jarren's story is kind of an interesting one. It had kind of a lot of twists and turns, didn't it? It was one where he had an opportunity early on as a freshman, and just really wasn't ready from a maturity standpoint based on everything you hear in the media. Took him a little time to kind of grasp the offense. Came into this year, and a lot of people thought Tate Martell was going to come in and be quarterback one. The transfer out of Ohio State, he came in, got immediately eligible, and a lot of people was thinking that Tate was going to run the offense, but really everything we heard from the spring on was that Jarren was definitely the lead quarterback. He was the one that was most accurate. He grasped the offense that Coach Enos wanted to install the best, and really just kind of held that job from the beginning of the spring until the start of the season. Went into that Florida game, and honestly, he looked pretty good, especially for the fact that, his offensive line wasn't very strong in that game. And there was a lot of high hope for him. But basically, I feel that a couple of things happened there. Really, he never really showed the dedication to his craft to put in the study time based on everything we hear, based on, missing curfew and doing some of those things. I think that really impacted his ability to lead the team. When you don't see, your quarterback putting in the time to really prepare for the upcoming games, I think, some of our team really followed that lead. And I think also he lost a little bit of confidence when things didn't go his way about midway through. And, whether the coaching staff did him any favors by pulling him in and out like they did, is certainly up for debate. But I think that definitely contributed to his downfall a little bit. It's not a surprise to hear him go into the portal. I wish him well, and I hope he finds a place where he can really, find a home, and I hope he really kind of makes a decision on what he wants to do with his career, whether he wants to put that time in or not.
All right. Is there just speaking about what he did on the field, is there anything that you saw skill set wise that he could improve on as a quarterback?
Yeah, definitely. And it's something I wrote a lot about in my film reviews with him. Jarren definitely fell in love with the middle of the field. That was his second read always, was in between the hash marks. And really, he didn't drive the ball well outside of the hash marks. And that allowed cornerbacks to really kind of sit on some of those routes with him. He just didn't have the velocity to get the ball outside the hashes on some of those longer developing routes. And I think that's definitely something that he can improve upon. I think his mechanics got away from him a little bit at times. Either his base got long or his arm dragged, and that really cost him some velocity in some of those throws. I think you could see it in the play calls that were called when he was in the games, that they really tailored Jarren's reads to be more in the middle of the field, because that's just really where he was more comfortable. So anything outside the hashes is something that he could definitely improve upon. And then I think the other thing is he really struggled at times throwing those bubble screens. maybe he completed the pass, but it wasn't really where it needed to be, out in front of the receiver to where he can have his momentum going forward. A lot of times it was on his back hip or his back shoulder, and they would almost have to spin around and try and catch it that way. And that really kills that play when that happens. So, accuracy in that area and just outside the hash marks are two areas that I believe he could focus on to improve.